On Florida's Space Coast, you can do anything. Walk on water or learn to fly. Touch the stars or even another world. Lose yourself, but find each other. Just don't forget to look up. We're the only beach in the world that doubles as a launch pad. Because this, you can only do here. Start your adventure online at visitspacecoast.com.
Today on 321 Liftoff. Since we first started producing these podcasts, we've either taken you on location or invited guests into our studios inside the Cocoa Beach Area Chamber of Commerce to talk about a myriad of interesting things that you can see and do in Florida's fabulous Space Coast. We've talked about great restaurants, great attractions like Kennedy Space Center, and we even did a podcast with a live alligator sitting on the table less than 2 feet in front of me. Today, we're going to talk about lions. 3 lions that are brothers, and no, thank goodness we do not have live lions on our set, but we do have them at our fabulous Brevard Zoo here in Florida's Space Coast for you to see. With us in our studio is Zach Marchetti, Community Engagement and Outreach Officer for the Brevard Zoo, and he's going to tell us all about these 3 lions and what they like to do in our fabulous zoo. So pull up a chair as we learn all about these lions coming up next on 321 Liftoff.
3, 2, 1, liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to 321 Liftoff. I'm Wayne Belden, the president of Belden Communications, the publisher of the Space Coast Fun Guide and SpaceCoastFunGuide.com. We'll be bringing you 321 Liftoff each week, talking about tourism on Florida's fabulous Space Coast. With me is the host of 321 Liftoff, Bonnie King, former Deputy Director of the Space Coast Office of Tourism, as well as the past President of the Florida Film Commission. Bonnie, are we ready to blast off on 321 Liftoff?
Hey, we are ready to go. You know, everybody loves to see animals up close and personal and to revel in the majesty that these wild animals inherently bring out in our soul. And now 3 lions, all brothers, have found their home at the Brevard Zoo. And they act like big cats do, and they do all the ordinary things that a cat does. Like a house cat, they sit around and they sleep all day. And once in a while, you can catch them prowling around their natural habitat. Today in our 321 Liftoff production studio located right here in the Cocoa Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, we're going to have a conversation with Zach Marchetti, the Community Engagement and Outreach Officer at the Brevard Zoo, who spends a lot of time with these 3 magnificent creatures. 321 Liftoff is brought to you in part by the Space Coast Office of Tourism, where our one-of-a-kind getaway is the only beach that doubles as a launch pad, and by the SpaceCoastFunGuide.com, where you will learn what there is to see and do in this fabulous area that we call Florida Space Coast. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, John Belden, Vice President of Belden Communications. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Friday to you. This is going to be another fun
Yes,
podcast.
it is.
And you know, as a kid, my introduction to lions being the symbols of strength and courage came from watching The Wizard of Oz. Everybody watched Wizard of Oz.
I knew
It's
that.
part of everybody's childhood, I think. And then growing up, visiting zoos and seeing lions in action, it was interesting to note the personalities. So I'm actually interested in hearing from Zach what kind of personalities these brothers possess. So this is going to be a fun one. It's too bad they couldn't come here in studio, but I appreciate it.
Bad.
Of course, with us is our producer, Mr. Phil Bird. He's a lion lover himself. Aren't you there, Phil?
So what now?
There you go.
Everybody's got to know that one.
That's it.
This is super exciting. These lions look incredible, and I want to know so much.
Hell yeah, man. And the president of Belden Communications, the lion man himself, Wayne Belden. How you doing there, Pop?
Very good, very good. And I'm all excited about this. As you know, I'm very partial to lions because in my early days as a disc jockey, that was my moniker, the Lion Man. So I'm all interested in hearing and learning all about lions and gain more knowledge of what I already know about them. And this summer, the Brevard Zoo was voted as the #4 zoo in North America as part of USA Today's 10 Best Reader's Choice Awards. That's phenomenal. We're real proud about that. And it may be a smaller zoo than others on the list, but the habitats, well, they're one-of-a-kind animal experiences, and the commitment of staff to make sure wildlife survives is what makes our Brevard Zoo a total standout. So let's meet Zach Marchetti and with Brevard Zoo. And Zach, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, guys. This is a blast. I'm so excited to talk about the zoo because it really is a very, very special place.
You come with passion. I can see that.
Yeah,
That's
and it's one of our favorite places to visit as well because it's a major attraction here on the Space Coast. And we've had people from the zoo on before. We haven't had you because we just heard that you are the man that hangs out with those lions, those three brothers, and you know a lot about what's going on at the zoo. So tell us, since this is one of the newest things at the zoo with the lions, tell us a little bit about what the experience is like.
So these three lion boys are absolutely fantastic. Their names are Ruaha, Karoo, and Chobi. They came to us from the Naples Zoo. They're all a little over 3 years old, all weigh a little over 500 pounds. So these
Naples, Florida.
Yes, Naples, Florida, exactly. Not Naples, Italy. A little bit of a shorter trip.
The Italiano lions.
Yeah. But they're fantastic boys, and I have the privilege to see them very regularly. But I don't get to do the hands-on work with them. That's their specific
hands-on work?
Well, hands-on. We don't share space with any of our large predators. We never share the same space as our lions or our jaguars or anything like that because it's simply not safe.
Right.
They're lions and jaguars.
They're real animals, guys.
They're real animals. These aren't animatronic things going on or anything like that.
They haven't been housebroken.
Right. But they're such amazing animals when you really see them in person because you see that size, you see that just kind of regalness that they have about them. But one of the funniest things is that people always ask, when is the best time to come and see them moving around or something like that? And the simple answer is never.
It's usually at night, isn't it?
Well, male lions will sleep for about 16 to 20 hours a day.
Wow.
I'm a male lion, I think.
That is their life. That is their lifestyle. Now, they are more active at night, absolutely. So mornings and evenings are certainly the best time, or anytime the keepers are around, which is also usually kind of mornings and evenings. Our keepers check in with them pretty much 5 times a day. So they go in the morning and they'll bring them inside to their holding area and do training with them and get them their morning meal, usually through a training session. And then they'll go out into the habitat once the lions are safely secured and they can do the cleaning and set up enrichment, big toys. There's actually companies that make these huge custom HDPE, high density polyethylene plastic balls that are specifically made for tigers and lions that can withstand that kind of force and power and strength.
So they actually play with them.
I was going to say, it's kind of funny because you think of a lion that's like this, intimidating and forceful animal, and it's like, I'm going to play with my toy.
Do they have cats have catnip? Do they have lion nip?
So we do use a lot of different types of scents and things like that as enrichment for our animals. So enrichment is really anything that we give to our animals to provide different types of mental and physical stimulation because we really want to elicit as many natural behaviors as possible with all of our animals. And so for lions, one of those natural behaviors is sleeping. So you make sure that they have a nice place to sleep.
Yeah.
But then play is also a natural behavior for lions. You look at videos of male lions playing with their cubs. That's how those cubs learn to hunt. But it's also how they learn to fight because a male lion has a couple of jobs. One is to produce more lions, and then the other is to protect the rest of the pride. And so the female lions do all of the hunting. They are really they really carry the pride. And then the male sleeps. He wakes up, sees if anybody's brought any food. If they have, he goes and eats because the male gets to eat first.
That sounds good to me.
So the female does the hunting.
Yeah.
They do all the work and we just lie around. This sounds great.
Well,
You really are. You should have been a lion there, apparently.
It's great up to a point because the other thing that they have to do when they wake up is roar for a little bit because they got to see if anybody's going to answer. Because if somebody answers, then all of a sudden their real job starts.
It's a challenge?
Because that's most likely a challenge another pride in the territory.
But nobody ever answers them, though. Right?
Well, at the zoo?
Right.
Nobody's going to answer them at the zoo,
right,
for sure. But with wild lions, that's the male's job is really to protect the pride and protect his genetics from other male lions that are going to come in.
So let me ask you then: do they get used to the fact that no one's going to answer them, so they quit roaring, or do they roar as just
They will
their
still
habit.
roar.
They will still
Absolutely,
roar.
yeah. I mean,
well, that's kind of cool. I'd like to hear that.
But dumb question. Let's just say you're at the zoo and the thing roars and a person, roar,
Yeah.
does it
They'll know the
annoy
difference.
them? Like, but does
Not
that even
typically.
annoy them? Like,
They
You're
know-
not- you're
they
not
know a
even
fake.
close.
They're like,
You're
they
not
know a
even
fake.
close.
They know a fake.
absolutely. They're most likely just going to
Wow.
ignore you. If you don't have a green shirt, they don't care. Like, I mean, you wear a green shirt and all of a sudden they're like, okay, hey, maybe this person's got food for me.
because
Maybe
Yeah.
they
we'll get a treat for 'em.
recognize
'Cause they
the green
recognize their
shirt.
keepers.
They
Absolutely.
recognize-
All right, that's
I
an
was
inside
wondering-
track, guys. Wear a green shirt to the zoo.
They recognize the green shirt, but then very quickly they're going to dismiss you if they don't know you. If I walk up, into the back area with the keepers, they're going to ignore me because they don't know me. They know their keepers. They build relationships with their keepers, and that's all
smart.
part of the training that we have with our animals, because we want our animals to have a positive association with the staff that take care of them, because that makes taking care of them so much easier.
Right.
And then that allows the team to do lots of complex training, things like, be able to get voluntary weights, ask them to come up and stand onto a scale, or be able to ask them to actually press their hip up to the side of the mesh so that you can do a voluntary injection for vaccines and things like that.
And they do
They
it.
do that?
So not yet. We're still
Okay,
working on
you're
training them. They're still very new for us,
Wow.
but we have a lot of animals in the zoo that will do things like that.
Wait. You're training somebody to stick needles in
Yes.
these things?
I mean,
And there's the lions will cooperate. They're like, here you go.
Yeah.
yeah. So our animals need
Yeah, right.
vaccines and medical care the same way, or your pets and dogs do in the same way that we do. So all of our animals are on a preventative care schedule. So they get seen by our veterinary staff on a regular basis. That's the preventative portion of the medicine program. But then we also have the reactive. If something happens, obviously we're going to skip that schedule and just take care of them. But we really, really try to help all of our animals participate in their own care as much as possible, because that gives them choice and control over their own lives, and also reduces their stress. If we need to get blood from an animal, whether it's a lion or a jaguar. For a long time, we had our old man jaguar Mulak, who passed away just last year, unfortunately. Like many old cats, was battling kidney issues. Cats are obligate carnivores, whether it's a lion or a jaguar or a house cat. They eat meat and only meat. When you do that for long enough, that's going to destroy your kidneys. Just
Really?
like if we eat too much protein, it's going to start to cause kidney issues. Right?
I like steak.
So most big cats won't survive long enough in the wild to have that happen, because they're going to start to slow down. They're not going to be able to hunt for themselves anymore. But under human care, where we're providing them food, they have really kind of the opportunity to get some of those geriatric diseases. And so if we need to get blood, when we needed to get blood on Mulak, our old jaguar, the keepers actually trained him to present his body right up to the mesh, and then they could use a short little tool with a little hook on the end, a sharp hook or anything like that, but to just kind of reach through the mesh and gently draw his tail out through the mesh. He can get up and walk away at any time he wants to. Veterinarian comes in, there's a vein in the tail, they can draw blood right from the tail.
Get outta here.
And so we could do that once a month, once every 2 months, to monitor his kidney function, instead of having to anesthetize him every time, which is going to be stressful and also potentially dangerous. Any
is so
anesthesia event has medical concerns.
Sure.
So lions, they typically sleep, like you said, was it 16, 20 hours? So if you wake them up
Right.
early,
Yeah.
that's aggravated. They get
No,
agitated.
not necessarily. I mean, they're used to being woken up. I mean, they sleep whenever they can.
Gotcha.
And then do all the other things whenever they need to or whenever they want to. So they're constantly being woken up. Even a wild male lion in its natural range with a pride is being woken up from time to time, because cubs are going to come over and start just saying like, "Hey, Dad," just popping them on the face, like, "Come on, let's play." And so they'll wake
I have
up.
kids,
and
I get it.
Yep, exactly. They'll bat the kids around a little bit, give them some play experience. And do other things. So, the keepers, if the lions are sleeping, they'll go down and they'll call them. And again, it's all choice based. So if the lions say, "You know what? No, I'd rather sleep on the platform than come back in and do some training today," then that's fine. The keepers will come back down later. They're down there basically 5 times a day, checking on those lions, making
Sure.
sure that they have everything that they need.
And you mentioned stress. What stress do they have? Because they
Yeah,
got
I
the
was going to
life.
say.
So
If I was a lion,
lot
I
of-
wouldn't care about what anybody thought.
It's a lot of work
Yeah.
making more lions, man.
Yeah.
That's stressful stuff.
So, I mean, stress is part of every living being's life. Plants, animals, all of us have, deal with stress, and we're all built to deal with acute stress. Chronic stress is where you start to have problems. So that's where, having a really good relationship with the animals, because if you have an animal that is scared of you, that's under your care, every time you show up, you're putting stress on that animal because it's having that fear reaction. And if that happens once, again, acute stress, bounce right back. But if that happens over a period of time and you start to develop that chronic stress, that's going to create problems. So building that relationship with the animals, making sure that they're comfortable, making sure that they have the right habitats, the right food, all those things all works to make sure
to
that
reduce their stress.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you another question. Since they're out, they've got a beautiful location where they are, and I know you're going to talk about you're building an expanded area for them, but right now they're in a beautiful habitat. I mean, it's just like living in the wild. They're in their natural habitat, which is great. At nighttime, do they get put into another area?
Good question. No. So most of the time they don't. When hurricanes roll through, yes.
Yeah.
But we really, really try and give as many of our animals as possible 24-hour access to both their entire outdoor space and their indoor holding space. So there are times where you'll come through the zoo and you won't see our jaguar. And it's because she has chosen to go inside for a little while. And yeah, sometimes we get, people that say like, oh, we didn't get to see the jaguar today. But when you explain it to them, you say, this is about their choice and their control.
Yeah.
They need to have a space where they can get away. All of a sudden people kind of go, oh yeah, okay, no, that really makes sense.
It's a real habitat. I do love it.
But at night, they have that whole space outside. And I actually did a night tour a couple of weeks ago now and got to see them outside at night, which was a lot of fun.
Now, let me ask you this. What about how fast can they run?
So lions are quick. They are one of the faster mammals in Africa. They can run about 40 to 45 miles an hour, which is
they run at the
pretty
zoo?
fast.
At 500
little bit
pounds.
here and
They
there.
do.
Right? Yeah. The males, aren't going to often take part in these big, long, fast chases because, again, that's usually going to be the females that are hunting. Males will sometimes engage in hunting when they have a pride. The only time males have to hunt is when they don't have their own pride.
Phil, that's faster than a moped.
Right. Oh my goodness.
No, they're not slow, and they can. Their acceleration is unbelievable. These are such powerful animals, and so the males, animals don't often run because they want to. Most animals run because they have to. One of the things I like to say is, impalas are really, really fast animals, right? Impala, type of antelope native to Africa, very, very fast. You know why impala are fast?
Why?
Because they need to run away from cheetahs. You know why cheetahs are fast?
Because they got to run away.
Because they got to catch impala. I mean, that's it. That's why these animals do the things that they do. They're not, a cheetah isn't out there just doing this, huge run for fun all the time, because in their natural range, that's a huge waste of energy and waste of calories, and that can be problematic. So in the zoos, we do things to try and bring out those behaviors through enrichment, through training, so that we can still get them that type of exercise, but in a, hey, I want to do this way, rather than a like, oh my gosh, I'm running for my life, or I'm running because if I don't catch that thing, I'm not going to eat. So we still bring out those behaviors as much as possible, but just getting up and sprinting isn't really something that lions do. So it's not something that we really have to encourage them to do, but we still want to make sure that they get their exercise.
Well, it's like, I was going to say, it's good exercise.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
It's good exercise. Now, let me ask you this. These are three brothers. They are now 3 years old.
Yeah.
They're fully adult, right?
These are big boys. Absolutely.
Aren't they looking for like a little female companionship?
Yeah. So absolutely. So it does surprise people that we have three boys together, and it is something that we know does happen in their natural range. So male lions will form these little kind of bachelor prides, where you have a couple of male lions, usually young males, often siblings, but not always, that will kind of hunt together for a little while until they're ready to really kind of split off on their own, or until they encounter a pride that they think they might be able to get into. So it's not, totally unnatural for a group of young male lions to be living together. And it's well established in zoos that we can do this with large carnivores, which is really important, because when we're looking at breeding endangered species and trying to maintain these populations of genetically diverse, long-term populations of animals, you need to consider space. And so, you get a breeding recommendation from the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, because we're an AZA, Association of Zoos and Aquariums accredited zoo. So within that, you have networks that help manage the breeding programs for all the different species.
So you'll be bringing in some females?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So currently we are designated as a holding facility for lions.
Okay.
So these boys needed space. We were able to give them space so that they can live. They have their genetics. They have important genetics. And at some point in the future, one or all three of them may get a breeding recommendation. So, the group that organizes and kind of looks at lion breeding within AZA may say like, hey, your three boys have really important genetics that are underrepresented. And so in order to increase the genetic diversity, we would like to pair them, pair this one with this female, this one with this female. And so then we have the opportunity to say, yes, we can do that, or no, we can't do that, because it might mean shipping our animals out or bringing new animals in. So we have to evaluate our space and things like that. But then we can also say, yes, we can do that if. So sometimes when you get breeding recommendations to send an animal off to another zoo to help preserve that species, you say, okay, well, yeah, but that's our only tiger, or that's our only jaguar. for. So we need to arrange to be able to get another one in the zoo. So all the zoos work together really, really carefully on breeding. So currently we're not a breeding facility. Could certainly be something that could happen potentially in the future. But right now we're a holding facility, which is fantastic. We're helping the species still. We're helping the others, all of the other zoos within our organization, and it gives our visitors an amazing chance to see these
those lions.
Beautiful lions.
They may have some angry days every now and then.
I was going to get into it a little bit more, but I'm going to leave it at that because I could say some stuff.
I think that's cruel.
Really?
I wouldn't want somebody else determine whether when I get a little action. Or,
Yeah, right. It's like, come on, man. Can I have a visit? Maybe.
Can I see what this other lion looks like before you bring him over here?
Come on, man.
We sometimes call it computer dating for animals. We're matching them up.
What do you do? Give them pictures of each other?
Yeah,
Is there Tinder for lions? Called that would be called Tinder, right?
Yeah, you're going to be with Hilda. Hilda's coming over here.
Yeah, it's funny. There are some species like pandas actually sometimes do require a little bit of video footage to get them going. We don't have pandas. Pandas don't do very good climate.
What do you make them wear bikinis? And things?
Nope. It's just natural history footage of pandas has been used to help spur panda breeding, because that has been something that was difficult for a long time in zoos to breed pandas successfully. I mean, it's gotten much better now, but that was something that was used with pandas to help try and get them to breed, was video footage of
you know
pandas.
what? All breeds use video at some point.
Yeah,
It's fine.
So,
How do the other animals react to the lions being there? Because I know they're in their own area, but I mean, I think you mentioned before we were on the air that the bears were close.
Yeah. So we built this a temporary habitat for lions, and not temporary in the means that like it's going to get picked up and moved away, but it just means that they're going to live there temporarily. So it's a totally suitable, big, really, really strong, totally secure, safe habitat for them. But it's in our wild Florida section, because in order to build their permanent habitat requires a major renovation of our Africa loop that will be starting at the end of this year. So we did move them into our Florida loop because that's where we had the space to build this habitat, and they're right next to our bears. And the bears were very, very curious for a while. Our male bear was just constantly on his hind legs. Just, what do I smell? What do I hear? The foxes that are close by were also very, very curious about them. And we're just about to move our bobcat back to our Florida space. Our bobcat has been living in rainforest for a while we renovated his home to double his space and give him a bigger, larger enclosure. And very curious to see how he reacts when he gets moved back, because he's adjusted to the fact that there is a jaguar that lives near him, and that took him a little while to adjust to, but we'll bring him back and really make sure that when we do those sorts of transitions, our keepers really make sure that they're paying extra attention to that animal, giving them whatever they need to, if they do have a nervous reaction, or you see that stress come up a little bit because of that, really, really working to mitigate that and distract them from it, get them used to it as quickly as possible.
And how about the lions? How do the lions feel about being next to a bear or being next to a fox?
If a lion roars and a bear answers.
That's a different roar.
Yeah.
And they probably don't care, because they're so regal and strong. They already know that they are they're the hot dog. They're the big person.
Yeah, but
right?
bears are nothing to sneeze at, though.
Right.
I mean, bears are fast.
Bears are tough, but I mean, it's funny. You'd think that these three big lions would come in and just take charge, but they were actually very, very shy when they came in, which when you start to think about it more, it makes sense. They've lived with mom their entire lives. They're now all of a sudden out on their own, which that's the age when they would often get kicked out of the pride anyway. So it's the natural age for them to move away, but it's still a nerve-wracking experience for these animals. So in a new space, they were quite shy, and it actually took us quite a bit of time to get them comfortable coming back into their that we call it the night house, but basically their safe holding space. And they spent days just outside on the platforms, just kind of tucked right up next to each other for comfort.
Right. Yeah.
And we let them do that.
Do you think when that happened, do they miss their mom? Do they have that separation anxiety?
So that's, it's hard to, we often try and kind of equate animals' behavior and thoughts with our own understanding. And that's a really hard thing to do, because we only can see the world through our own lens. And so trying to figure out how animals perceive it can be really tricky. So, we definitely see some animals that absolutely will show, separation anxiety if separated from mom for too long or too early or something like that. But this, was not a greater period than you would expect with a move or something like that.
Well, and that's probably why they bonded together, the three brothers, just being together. Yeah. And you saw a lot of the pictures when they first came, they were always the three of them huddled together.
Absolutely.
So
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can see that. That's really cool.
What was the first name? Ruaha?
Ruaha.
Oh, Ruaha.
Yeah. So those the names all came from Naples. Those are names of different national parks in Africa. So they're named after the pretty different.
And they were born in Naples.
Yep, born at Naples Zoo because of a breeding recommendation. Their dad has these genetics that are kind of traced back to a really kind of underrepresented part of Southern Africa. And so he was a really important breeder and got paired with this female actually years ago when I worked at Naples Zoo. So when I worked at Naples Zoo, Dad was, when I started there, because I worked at Naples Zoo for 7 years before coming to Brevard, Dad was a young male when I started, and I got to see him kind of finish growing up and turn into this big adult male, big dark mane, and really dominant looking lion. And then Mom came in, and we were trying to breed them at the time that I was working there, and it hadn't happened. Mom, whose name is Shani, had a hormone implant, because we use hormone implants to stop animals from cycling a lot of time, because just as important as breeding animals is not breeding animals, because you don't want to breed too many. You want to make sure you're controlling the monitoring the genetic diversity, all that stuff. But those implants can sometimes take time to wear off. So we were kind of waiting. And then finally, once I was here, heard, we've got baby lions. And so that was such an exciting thing to hear. But yeah, triplets, all born right at the Naples Zoo. And it was just worked out so perfectly that we were able to get that space for them, bring them in even before we do this renovation.
Oh, how did the Naples Zoo fare during this storm?
Naples took quite a solid hit. They weren't, further south of the actual eye landing, but they got a ton of water for sure. Lots of Naples was flooded. I have a lot of close friends that are still there, so we were in contact with them the entire time. And then certainly as an institution in contact with them, calling them, do you guys need us to hold any animals or anything like that? But they are actually open again to the public. They opened last Friday back up to the public, which is amazing. They had something like 350, don't quote me on that number, but it was like 350 yards of plant debris that had to be hauled out of that space.
Wow.
There was so much plant debris. That was their entire staff, from admin staff to philanthropy staff, all cleaning debris. We at Brevard got really lucky with the hurricane. We certainly had our preparations in place. We had our animals secured. We had a ride-out team that stayed overnight and, to keep track of things. But we had a couple of small trees come down and a little bit of cleanup. But we were, storm hit Wednesday, Thursday. We were back open Friday.
I know you're here to talk about the lions, but how do you secure giraffes?
So we have a huge barn that we have for our giraffe and rhino and some of our other hoof stocks. So basically, if you have a gigantic barn with a big tall space, you put your giraffe stalls in the middle in the tallest space, and you put your smaller stuff out on the side. So
it's gotta be a tall barn, man.
It is.
Barn.
It's a big barn. But they have secure space that they can come into for something like that. But we don't actually secure all of the animals in a hurricane, which might surprise people, especially in a smaller hurricane, because some animals, really flighty hoofstock, things like impala, if you try to put them in a small space and then all of a sudden this big scary storm rolls through, they're going to panic. And when they panic, they just run blindly and they're going to hurt themselves. Exactly. So with a small storm like this, it's actually much safer to leave them out in the big open space, because they can run as a herd and do the things that they would normally do.
Talking about, going back to lions, I got a question here online. Is how many lions generally make up a pride? Is there usually an average number?
So prides can be pretty variable. You can have small prides that are, a male and maybe just 3 or 4 females and a couple of cubs, but there have been some prides recorded that have 10, 15 members and sometimes even more. But those are really, really,
That's
really
a gang.
rare.
What do you mean? That's a gang. I know what that looks like. That's a gang.
And they run things.
Well, and I know that we're here. We could keep you all day just even talking about the lions, but also let's talk a little bit about the expansion that y'all are doing, because you're going to look to build an aquarium. And we've talked about that before, but can you tell us where you're at with that?
Absolutely. So we are at a really, really exciting phase right now. We are in the middle of our legacy campaign, is what we're calling it. And it is a fundraising campaign to support the zoo, but then also to build a standalone aquarium, so a second campus, at the port that will be a 14-acre aquarium completely focused on the Indian River Lagoon, touch on the St. John's, touch on the Atlantic, but really focused on our local waterways and exciting people about them, getting them excited about, why this habitat is so unique, why it's so diverse, what it really should look like. I mean, we know that our Indian River Lagoon is not what it used to be.
Right.
But we have so many people that come into the county or, come over from Orlando for the weekend or have just moved here or come in as visitors that see it and it, at the surface still looks like this really beautiful place because you have these mangrove islands. You can go down your jet ski, stop on the island and hang out for a while. And that's a lot of fun. But if you don't know about the crystal clear water and the thousands of acres of seagrass and things, you don't even know that there's something there that needs to be fixed.
Right.
And so we're really, really hoping that this aquarium will be a lighthouse for the lagoon. We have it formed as really a conservation hub. We have a 3-story conservation education building built into the plans, and that's going to have education classrooms so that we can continue to do all the same types of education stuff that we do at Brevard Zoo currently. But it's also going to have wet labs and conference rooms so that university researchers and researchers from other small organizations have a central place to really work together and try and create the meaningful change and the meaningful work that we need to do to really restore the lagoon.
We're going to be like a one-of-a-kind aquarium. I mean, does anybody else have the same infrastructure that we're looking at?
So what we're doing is unique. We're Brevard Zoo. We like to do things a little differently. We create adventures and experiences rather than just the same types of habitats as you go through. We have zip lines and kayaking and all that stuff. But the aquarium, the model of focusing it on a local ecosystem like this is not unknown. Monterey Bay has a similar approach to that, and that's been really effective in gaining support for restoring their waterways. So it takes that approach, but it's not a stand inside in the dark, look at big acrylic windows all day long type of aquarium. This is an outdoor, get immersed, feel like you are in the Florida ecosystem type of aquarium. So we want you feeling like you are in the flats with sharks. Now, we can't let people walk through the water with a bunch of bull sharks, but we can make it feel like you can. Because if we have 2 big shark habitats lined with acrylic panels as you walk through, and you've got bull sharks on one side and lemon sharks and bonnet heads and sawfish and all the other sharks on the other side, you walk through and it feels like you're in the flats with those sharks.
Wow.
And so it's all designed to really try and create this immersive experience so that people can feel that Florida feel and understand the uniqueness of the Indian River Lagoon and what makes this area so special.
You know that sound. It's everyone's favorite part of the show. It's Space Coast Fun Guide's Deal of the Week, where we always give you the most fun and delicious coupons in the Space Coast. Space Coast Fun Guide Deal of the Week is brought to you by the Space Coast Fun Guide and spacecoastfunguide.com, where you'll learn what there is to see and do and where to do it. John, tell them about it.
This week's Deal of the Week is brought to you by Kelsey's Pizza in Cape Canaveral. Guys, Kelsey's is known for their pizza, eats, and vines, and best of all, they deliver. Dine in tonight and enjoy fresh food from their scratch kitchen. Wet your whistle with beer, wine, cocktails, and 24 craft beers on tap. Today's coupon saves you $7 off your bill. For those of you listening from outside our destination before you arrive at the Space Coast, log on to spacecoastfunguide.com and print your coupon for today's Deal of the Week. Or once you arrive to the Space Coast, pick up a Space Coast Fun Guide at almost every major accommodation or attraction and redeem your free coupons directly from our printed visitor guide. And remember, guys, nobody reaches more visitors on the Space Coast than Space Coast Fun Guide. So when you're looking for fun in the Space Coast, make sure to refer to the Space Coast Fun Guide and spacecoastfunguide.com for what to do and where to do it.
Sounds good.
So I was on social media and I did ask this question to a lot of our groups and a lot of our pages. If you could be any zoo animal, which one would you be? So I do want to play that game with everybody here, but I want to do a little twist. I know we all want to be, but let's pick who we think each one of us is going to be. So
this is dangerous. This is dangerous.
We already know.
I know Wayne.
Wayne's going to be a lion.
Wayne is
Wayne's
already a lion.
Yeah.
So
I know what I am.
Wait.
But I know what I am.
I'm going to say
I've always thought
a unicorn, a zebra. Zebra?
No.
No.
Peacock?
Nope.
No, not peacock, but flamingo. I don't know.
Wayne, what do you think Bonnie would be?
I think that she would probably be a jaguar.
Nope.
Zach, what do you think she would be?
Fox.
I've had this for a long time. Growing up, I even thought this, but
Macaw?
nope. A giraffe.
A giraffe.
Giraffe.
Because
Probably because I'm tall.
you're tall, but you're not like ridiculously tall.
No, but because I'm tall, I just always related to a giraffe.
Yeah.
What can I say? So what about you, John?
What would I be?
Yeah, what would you be?
An
Well,
elephant.
I'd like an elephant. Look at you, man. Wow.
I say sloth.
What did you say?
My wife loves sloths.
Yeah.
I'm playful, so I mean, I think an easy thing would be say like a cat or like a lion, but I don't want to just copy lion, although that is a good one. So
Yeah, because you want to sleep all day.
I do want to sleep
Yeah.
all day, but like a cat of some sort, whether it be like I don't know, it could be a cheetah or something along those lines. But because I'm playful, but then I've got a serious side too that so
Puma.
Puma. I think Phil, you'd be like a panda because you're a big like
Yes.
Yeah.
seriously
Absolutely.
you're a big teddy bear.
100%.
Like, you know what I
And
mean?
pandas get to watch YouTube videos of other pandas. Of
Like
course.
seriously, dude, I think that all day long. That's you got that lovey thing about you.
How about you, Zach?
Boy, that's a tough one. I think especially if I'm, I gotta, because there's so many animals out there, I'm just gonna pick from Brevard Zoo,
Okay.
and I think I'd probably go with a spider monkey.
Okay.
Spider monkeys are incredible animals. They have this really cool social structure. It's a fission fusion social structure. So they live in these big family groups, and they all interact with each other. They groom together. They forage together. They play together, but then they break away, and they get their own time. And that's that fission where they go off either as a one or a pair or maybe three of them and just kind of go and do whatever they want for a while and then start chattering, figure out where the rest of the group is, and then come back.
I like it.
And it's such a neat lifestyle, and we get to see that really well at the zoo. When we revamped our rainforest area, we created separate spider monkey habitats, all connected by tunnels. Because most of the time when you see spider monkeys in zoos, you see them in one big space, and it looks like this big, beautiful space. Spider monkeys look happy in there, and they are. But they can't really kind of take advantage of that social structure. And so what we get to see because of the way we've set that up is you come by in the morning and you might have just our dominant male and maybe one of the younger boys sitting on kind of the first ray of sun on a cool morning. And then you go around the corner and then the next habitat is mom, one of the older females with a couple of the youngsters, and the youngsters are playing. And then, you walk by later in the day and the entire troop is together, all
Nice.
socially grooming up in one of the tunnels or something like that. And so I lose time with the spider monkeys pretty constantly. If I have to cut through rainforest to get to a meeting, I am going to be
Well,
late.
I'm going to think of you the next time I'm there and I see those spider monkeys.
Have you seen spider pigs?
Spider pig.
Spider pig does whatever a spider pig does.
I don't know what they're talking about, but I just want to tell everybody to go to brevardzoo.org and you can see these videos, and you can even see the video of what you are planning on the expansion with the aquarium.
Yeah, I was playing it earlier.
I saw some of
Yeah.
that, and what a great, people need to go to that. So brevardzoo.org.
Brevardzoo.org will take you to the whole thing. The
Great.
campaign has its own website as well, ourlegacycampaign.org, but you can get there through the Brevard Zoo website.
Great.
And we just hit the 50 million mark, halfway to our $100 million goal. We're really, really excited about it because now we get to really start getting out of the public. We're not saying, if this happens anymore. Now we're saying when this happens.
Well, we really look forward to it. You've been
what?
great. Man, we could just keep this going.
I want to give you guys some kudos because there's a reason why you're number 4 on this list of
Yeah.
best zoos. I had the privilege of growing up in New York City and going to the Bronx Zoo many times, which is, as you know, is a phenomenal zoo.
Absolutely.
But I have to tell you, in all honesty, not just because I'm here and you're here, I have never been to a zoo like the Brevard Zoo. The preparation, the work, the effort that goes on, not just to make it a great experience for the people, the humans that are visiting it, but for the animals itself, as you were describing earlier, the effort to make sure that they're not under stress, to make sure they're fed, that they can play, that they're happy. I mean, really, for the folks that are listening, you want to go to a real damn good zoo. This is it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I completely agree. I've been in the zoo field for 15 years. I've been to zoos all across the country, and both biased, but then if I cover everything, non-biased as well. I absolutely love the zoo. It is one of my favorite zoos. It's the perfect size. It's small enough that you can do the whole thing in an afternoon if you want to, but it's also big enough that you can spend the whole day there doing all of the different experiences.
And I love how you have it's beautifully. I mean the all the foliage and everything.
Absolutely.
You can walk that zoo in shade. and sit in places and just contemplate on the beauty of nature. That's one of the things that I love about it as well. And even during the summer, you're in shaded areas, walking along beautiful locations.
And don't forget the gift shop. They got some cool stuff in there too.
Cool, a great place to do some shopping. That is for sure.
And you can't forget, we got alligators there too.
Yeah, we've got alligators. We've got zip lines. You can actually zip line over the lions and the crocodiles. We've got kayaking. We just revamped and brought back night zip lines. So on Friday nights through the end of December, you can actually come and you can get a guided zip line tour at night over the zoo.
Phil, we got to do this.
And you will go over the lions at night. You've got red lights because that helps your night
and
vision
that's when
stick
they're
around.
Active too, so
and that's
be
when they're
careful.
active. And they will be watching. I can promise you that.
I love it.
So
make sure your shoes are on tight.
It's a really fantastic place to come. So many different experiences and things that you can do while you're there. We have adventure packages, different ticket packages. So it's not just a thing to do when you're here. It's a reason to come. For
it
sure.
is a reason.
Absolutely.
That's right.
It is a fantastic
In
zoo.
Vieira, guys, right off Wickham Road, and you'll check it out on the map on spacecoastfunguide.com. Pick up the visitor guide and any major attraction or hotel, and you'll find Brevard Zoo, and definitely you'll be glad you went. For sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zach. Now, next week we have John Howard, who is the manager of the Bricks Project, which is Playa Linda Brewery, where they make those wonderful beers in Titusville, and we're going to see how they create this creative craft beer, and see how the good food and the beer combine and collide.
We're going to do some tasting,
and we're probably going to do some tasting.
Oh boy!
So it's going to be another fun event. And Zach, I just
Can I
can't.
come back?
You can come join us.
For that, we'd be an honorary guest.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's been a blast.
Absolutely.
See you next week.
That's a wrap.
Good job, man.
Oh, my God.